single growing business eventually experiences. In the early days, the CEO founder knows exactly what's going on in sales and is involved in just about every single deal. They generally speak to the customers directly and they know which opportunities are real and which ones aren't so well qualified. But as the company grows and we start to hire more salespeople, something begins to change. More salespeople join the team. More deals enter the pipeline. More activity seems to be happening across the team. And gradually the CEO becomes further and further and further removed from what's actually happening in the sales conversations. At first, it feels like progress. After all, the goal of growth is to build a team that can operate without the founder being involved in every sale. But something else happens at the same time. Sales visibility starts to disappear. Forecasting, it becomes harder to trust. Sales meetings become less clear and leaders begin to feel like they're relying on reports rather than real understanding of what's going on. This is what I call the scaling visibility trap. And if it isn't solved properly, it's often where growth stalls. In this video, we're going to explore why this actually happens and, more importantly, how to fix it. Because companies that scale successfully don't just grow their sales team, they build sales systems and leadership rhythms that maintain visibility as the business expands. When a company is small, visibility in sales just happens quite naturally. The founder might run many of those sales conversations. They hear firsthand what the objections are. They understand the customer's problems and how to solve them. They know exactly where each deal stands. But once the team grows, that visibility seems to disappear. Sales updates become quote and hope summaries. Pipeline discussions become more presentation, a woman a prayer, and leadership begins to rely on reports instead of actual real insights. This can create a dangerous gap. Look, at the end of the day, the CEO still carries the responsibility to grow revenue, but the frustration is we no longer have the visibility of actually what's driving predictable growth. At this stage, many companies start asking the wrong damn question. They ask things like, how do we build a sales system where performance is visible and predictable without the CEO being involved in every single sale? And that starts with the right dashboards. And look, let's face it, many companies believe they already have the right dashboards. They can log on to their CRM, they can see what's in the pipeline, they can view revenue goals, they can see activity being loaded into the CRM. But most dashboards still have the sales leaders and the CEO asking the same question: are we on track? Are we going to make budget this month? A useful dashboard doesn't just show numbers, it shows signals that actually tell the sales leader that the sales engine is healthy or is in dire need of attention. For example, how many qualified opportunities have entered into the pipeline this month? How many of those qualified opportunities have actually advanced? How many of those deals did we really find who the actual decision makers are in the business? Signals like, where is this deal in relation to the buying process? These signals reveal the true health of your pipeline in a predictable way long before revenue actually appears. Without them, sales leaders are looking at historic data and they're going by gut feel as to whether they're going to make their budget this month. With them, leaders can see what is about to happen next. Hey, one of the biggest problems most CEOs describe is accurate forecasting. Quarter after quarter, the forecast changes. Deals expected this month move to the next month. Numbers that look confident, suddenly they disappear. And eventually leaders stop trusting the forecast altogether. But inaccurate forecasts really come from a bad spreadsheet. They usually come from poor deal qualification and a lack of management. When deals move through the pipeline without clear criteria, sales optimism tends to fill the gaps. Salespeople who are generally over optimistic believe that a deal will close or 90% chance of closing. And managers want to believe that forecast is true. And then what happens? Well, leadership plans around numbers that were never based on evidence. They were based on hope, and hope isn't a strategy. Accurate forecasting requires discipline. Deals should only move forward when specific conditions are met. For example, did the salesperson actually find what the client problem is and the impact of that problem? Did they find who's part of the buying process? Do they understand when that company wants to actually resolve the issue? What's their timeline? What's the priority? Those are just a few of the signals that need to be in place to start building a predictable and reliable sales forecasting process. When these types of criteria are clear, forecasting stops being guesswork. Becomes a reflection of the real buying behavior. But even the best systems need leadership, which brings me to the next issue: sales leadership at scale. As companies grow, another shift needs to happen. Sales managers must move from being strong individual contributors to becoming performance leaders. In many growing businesses, the sales manager is still the best salesperson. Sometimes they think they single-handedly have to win the sales, to win the budget and be the hero for the month. That's completely the wrong thing to do. In many growing businesses, the sales manager is still the best salesperson. They close the biggest deal. They jump into conversations when things stall. They carry the number where others fall short. But that approach doesn't scale, because the number one job of the sales manager isn't to close deals. It is to grow people, to grow sales. Great sales managers are great sales leaders, and the number one quality of a great sales leader is coaching. Sales managers should be focusing on coaching conversations. They review deals with structure. They have weekly one-on-ones with their sales team where they review deal structure. They challenge assumptions. They reinforce the process and buying qualification criteria. Instead of solving problems themselves, they ask great questions to help the salesperson learn how to solve them. And this is how high performance spreads across the sales team. Without that leadership layer, the organization remains dependent on individual sales performance. With it, sales capability and performance becomes much more scalable. And that leads me to the final piece, because when companies decide to fix this problem, the biggest question is always the same: where do I start? From my experience, when a company decides to regain control of sales performance, the solution doesn't start with hiring more salespeople. It starts with the foundational structure. The first step is really defining a clear sales plan and a clear strategy. You've got to really identify where growth is coming from. Is it new business? Is it existing business? You've got to identify which target segments are you chasing, who your ICP is, because otherwise your salespeople end up having the wrong conversations with the wrong people. But what it actually comes down to is, what does growth actually look like? And how do we backwards engineer success in order to get there? The second step is defining how you go to market. In other words, what does your sales process look like? It should be a milestone-centric sales process that ensures opportunities go through the process based on evidence, not sales optimism. The third step is visibility, building out dashboards that show the leading indicator of sales performance. The fourth step is forecasting discipline, and this is where we really need to ensure deals only appear in the forecast once certain criteria is met. And the fifth step is leadership rhythm. Weekly high-performance sales meetings, one-on-one structured deal coaching and pipeline management, and clear accountability across the sales team. When these pieces come together, something powerful happens. The CEO regains visibility. The sales manager regains control. And the organization moves from reactive selling to predictable growth. Scaling a business should not mean losing control of sales. But without the right systems, that's exactly what tends to happen. Visibility disappears, forecasting becomes unreliable, and leadership, well, they begin managing revenue through guesswork. The companies that scale successfully do something different. They build the right sales operating systems. the right infrastructure for sales growth, clear process, clear plan, clear dashboards, clear leadership rhythms. These systems allow the leaders to step back from individual deals while still maintaining complete visibility and control of sales performance. And when the infrastructure is in place, growth becomes far more predictable, because scaling sales isn't just about adding more people. It's about building the systems that allow performance to scale with them. If you're a CEO feeling trapped in your business, perhaps you're not getting the predictable, profitable results you deserve, download the CEO's Guide to Sales Team Alignment.